fall in the transition out of Hip City. Though Luna and I split up shortly after that terrible fight we had, we still cohabitated for the rest of September and most of October. The bed that we were sharing was one that she had paid for, so I was relegated to the futon in the living room for the remainder of my stay. It was an odd time I don't remember much of, though it was freeing to make plans to go out and do whatever I wanted without running it by someone else. Of course, it was still a bit complicated, especially when we would share pleasant conversations with one another and I could feel some love returning with the helping hand of forgiveness. Still, we would remind ourselves that there was no going back, that the decision was based on our best logical reasoning. My plan was to continue my job at the medical green power dispensary I had only worked at for a couple of months, and to eventually move into some other apartment in Hip City once things settled down a bit. The plan was quite tentative because Luna and I had checked out several different apartments and the one we found seemed to be the best, and so I wasn't stoked about the idea of downgrading. I plugged on at work and tried to not worry too much. One day, I was running early to the dispensary, feeling pleased with how productive I'd been all morning leading up to my shift, and waltzed on in with my fresh coffee, only to find bad news. I was instructed to go straight to my manager's office and was seated across from both my managers as well as the human resources woman, so I figured it had to be something serious. They wasted no time and made it plain and simple. Because of the loss of profits due to the green power vape cart controversy in combination with an accidental overhiring process, I was being let go along with several other new hires. I was promised that it had nothing to do with personal performance, but it was hard to believe, especially considering the newest guy they had hired was allowed to stay. Why the dispensary fired people who were properly trained for 2 months instead of the clearly stupid guy who had only been there for a couple weeks will always be a mystery to me. They handed me a severance check and sent me on my way with half-hearted goodbyes and sad puppy faces. I took off and caught the bus home while I listened to a podcast and stared out the window, trying to process what it all really meant. My 3-year relationship had ended. My job I had worked so hard for had thrown me out. So what did I have left there in Hip City? I had my catering job, which was no type of glamorous, and something I wanted to stop doing as soon as possible. Where could I go? Why was this world I had tried to settle into now rejecting me? I racked my brain for all the possibilities. I could move to the northern woods and live near Rashid and Kara. I could apply to another green power dispensary in the Hip City area, or I could go somewhere completely new somehow. Then it hit me. Omar might have mentioned that his roommate out in the Gold Coast was moving out in November. I knew that I had really connected with that part of the country when I had visited, and it seemed all too perfect to pass up. I gave him a call and pitched him my plan. I would either fly or drive cross-country to stay with him at the Gold Coast, and I would search for jobs immediately, preferably green power dispensary jobs, but anything that would help me get my feet on the ground out there. The idea of skipping winter for the first time in my life was splendid, and that also entailed spending my birthday in warmth surrounded by palm trees for the first time as well. Omar was all game for it, and was excited to have a familiar roommate instead of some rando. So it was settled about a month out. I was to fly out to the Gold Coast for an indefinite residence, to start anew and get away from everyone I had known over the years. In the meantime, I was to move home and get my things together, and to hang out with a few friends before taking off for the long haul. The goodbye with Luna was quite sad on move-out day. My parents retreated downstairs to give us some space, and she wept as we embraced for a long minute or two. We had spent 3 years together and had done some beautiful, amazing stuff. We had hiked many mountains, literally and figuratively, and flown across the country together twice. We had planned far ahead and felt as though we might get married and have kids. I certainly yielded a few tears as I realised that I would probably never see her again. She hadn't truly understood me in the way I wanted to be understood, but she had provided me with a lot of love and security regardless, and I would never forget that. What was the strange emotional force that had led us down the path of verbal conflict and misunderstanding, when deep down we both wanted it to work out? We were probably far more capable of making it work than we both thought, but in the end, I would deem our differences irreconcilable. I'd be a fool to ever say I really understand how these matters of energetic interlocking function, and for what purpose, if any. Are we just too aware of our survival-based instincts left over from evolution, grasping for more meaning and connection than the system of nature requires? I like to think there's a reason it all must happen, however messy the creation and destruction of a relationship is.